Hello and welcome to a new episode of Other Record Labels. I'm your host, Scott Orr. Thank you so much for taking time to follow along in this podcast. We've had some really incredible episodes and some very insightful guests, and I hope that you have found it helpful. Today is a very special episode. It's not a traditional episode by any means, but I want you to hang on and to stay with me for a couple minutes, and I won't bore you. I won't take up too much time, but it's a very exciting day because today we are officially launching our first online course. And this is a more in-depth thing than we've ever done. Of course, we've done some checklists and some free guides and some little episodes, but over the past year, I've been working in the past, 8 to 10 months more intently. But the past year, I've been working on building a resource for record labels that they can work through in their own time to help them get better at a certain thing. And that certain thing is marketing and promoting your releases and building great album release campaigns. A couple months ago, I sent a message on Instagram. Actually, this was about a year ago now. I sent a message on Instagram to some of the labels that I follow and that follow me. And I asked them and you might remember we did an episode about this, but I said, what would you consider to be a big win and for your label, and what do you consider to be some of your biggest challenges? And I asked those two questions. And when I asked the question about the biggest challenge, I got a lot of answers, but I would say a majority of the answers circled around the concept of marketing and promoting releases and promoting a release after release day has already happened. A lot of concerns and a lot of struggles with having our music heard above the noise. And that kind of resonated with me. I know that's been a challenge of mine, as well as a challenge of a lot of the labels that I've interviewed on the show. That stuck with me, and I started thinking about what it might look like to reach out to some people to build a really comprehensive course to help people and to help our labels get better at building release campaigns and promoting their album releases. And then just a couple months ago, I sent out as we were kind of finalizing this course, I sent out a survey on SurveyMonkey, and I got about 90 responses, which was so cool. And I sent it to our community and our mailing list. And I listed all these different things that they find that our labels are weak at doing or struggle with. And number one by a landslide was marketing. Number two was in-house PR campaigns, which is the same as marketing. But so really, the bulk of responses was all about how challenging it can be to promote a record. And we are also passionate about discovering new music, and we're passionate about even recording music, and we're passionate about sharing this music with new listeners because we believe in it so much. And I thought, this is a tough thing because that's the easy part, but the hard part is to actually find listeners and to get that album in front of people's eyeballs and in front of people's ears, or into people's ears. I don't know if that's appropriate to say. Anyway, for the past 10 months, we've been working on this course. It's called Marketing for Record Labels. It's an online course. You can find out all about it on otherrecordlabels.com. There's links for it everywhere. There are tons of, we've put in modules in there. There's two different levels too. There's like a standard and a premium version. You can check that out. I won't bore you with it now, but there's between 6 and 9 modules, and they're close to an hour long. Some of them go really deep into some really specific topics. And from previous weeks, we've interviewed Jamie Coletta, who's a fantastic music publicist from No Earbuds, and she teaches a module on this course called Building a Release Plan from Scratch. In this one module alone, there's some huge things that can really help you develop a better release campaign. One of the things I love so much when I was watching her module after she sent it to me, when we got to the very end of it, it was this idea of like a post-release campaign and a post-release strategy, because there's this crazy thing where we have all this momentum for a release up until its release day. And then we celebrate on release day Friday. And of course, there's other records that take some of the bandwidth as well. And then like Saturday, people go on their weekend and do their thing, and it's totally forgotten. And then Monday's a new week. And that record that we built up to and we've been working on, and the artists have been working on for years, all of a sudden it's like it's completely irrelevant and totally dead. And that's so sad because a lot of us don't discover music on release date. Most of us discover music days, weeks, months, years later. And so Jamie has this cool way to deal with that, how to build a post-release strategy, basically putting in as much effort as you do in the pre-release strategy into the post-release strategy. It's so cool. So her module is in this course. There's also packed it with a bunch of resources like templates, some checklists, some worksheets, basically things that will help jumpstart you in building a better release campaign and getting your releases and your album releases and your single releases out to the world, and just being more intentional. I struggle with that word so much. Intentional. I always want to put a B in that word, but anyway, being more intentional with how you release music, what your web presence looks like, how you build an email campaign, how you brand your album artwork. And so many different things, how you learn who your audience is and what triggers them and what excites them and what they're passionate about. I think you're going to find this course really helpful. I'm not going to like oversell it or anything. I just want you to go to otherrecordlabels.com and check it out. I apologize. This is not a normal week's episode, but there are some incredible resources coming up. And speaking of resources, I do want to give you something as a take home right now, just to kind of set your mind onto the marketing theme, because we're going to camp out on it now for the next couple of weeks about marketing and talking about marketing and PR and doing your own in-house PR. You can go to otherrecordlabels.com/marketing, and I have my own marketing checklist that I want to share with you. So go to otherrecordlabels.com/marketing. And you can download for free this checklist of 24 things that I try to make sure that I do. Some of them are really easy things. Some of them are a bit more difficult, but they're things that I try to do with every release just to make sure I've covered my bases. In the course and on the show and in everything I do, I try to emphasize this mindset change of there's not one major thing that we can do that is going to have a massive impact on our label. Instead, it's these micro changes for a macro result. So it's all of these little itsy bitsy things we do that pile up and compound to make a big change. So anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you find all these helpful. Get your free marketing checklist at otherrecordlabels.com/marketing. And if you want to, check out our course at otherrecordlabels.com. Thank you for being a listener, and thank you for being a subscriber.